Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon everyone. Welcome to my channel. So we're going to continue the SAT Math Rep series with this particular question on the screen, which is 4x squared minus 36 equals 0. And what this is basically showing us is that there are questions that do not fit the standard form of a quadratic equation, right? The standard form of the quadratic equation, or you want to call it general form, is usually ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And in this particular question, you can see that we don't have a term for x here. And the reason why we don't have a term for x, because the value of the coefficient of x, b, is actually equals to 0. So the value of b here is equal to 0. Now, comparing the standard form or the general form to the equation, we see that the value of a is going to equals positive 4, which is what I'm writing on the right side of the screen. The value of b, we said that is going to be b equals to 0 because there's no term for x, hence the value of the coefficient of x has to be 0. And then c is just a constant value, negative 36. Now, a way to work with this question is for you to first of all factorize. What I mean by factorize is not necessarily doing the factorization method of solving a quadratic equation, but doing the regular factoring that we know in math. So you have 4x squared minus 36 equals 0. Well, this is an even number. 4 is an even number. 36 is an even number. And we know that we can just bring out 2, right? Let's bring out 2. So we have 2x squared minus 18 equals 0. We divide both sides of the equation by 2. 2 into 1. And 0 divided by 2 is just 0. So our new equation is going to be 2x squared minus 18 equals 0. What you're going to observe again is that this question here also can be broken down further from 2x squared minus 18 because 2 is an even number and negative 18 is also an even number. So we can just have that to be, bring out 2 from that and have x squared minus 9 equals 0. So when you have that, you divide both sides by 2. 2, and 0 divided by 2 is just 0. So what you end up with is x squared minus 9 equals 0. Now we can see that this is much easier for us to work with. So what you can do is just do simple math and just do x squared, right, minus 9. Well, we can also add a plus 9 here, and then on the right side, this is x squared minus 9 equals 0. We're also going to add a plus 9, and we're doing this to isolate the x squared. So when you go on to do this, you're going to end up with x squared equals positive 9. And when you take the square root of this, so square root of 9, you're going to end up with x equals plus or minus 3. And our answer for the values of x is x equals negative 3 and positive 3. Now, I want to quickly mention this to you. We're not going to be able to solve this particular question with the factorization method because we don't have a value of b, or we have the value of b to be 0. So in order for you to do that, it's just going to make your work much more complicated. So it's wise for you to skip the factorization method here. We tend to use factorization method for simpler quadratic equations as well as quadratic equations that actually have a value of b and have a value of b that isn't 0. That's 1. 2, you cannot use the completing the square method for this particular equation. Why? Because the completing the square method does not work well with this, because in order for you to use that, you need to be able to divide the value of b by 2 and then square that and then add that information to the left side and the right side of the equation. But we can't do that, right? Because b equals to 0. We cannot divide and square and add, because just like doing nothing. Basically, like dividing something by 0, then squaring 0, and then adding 0 to an equation. You can't work with that. So the only two method is the one we just worked on, the square root method, as well as the quadratic formula and the quadratic formula is going to be linked for you to go on to keep on watching. So if you want to know how I solve this particular question with the quadratic formula, which is the only other way you can solve this question, make sure you go on to watch it. I wish you guys all the very best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.